capered before them, down towards the 40-foot hole, fluttering his wing-like hands, leaping nimbly. Mercury's hat quivering in the fresh wind that bore back to them his bird-like cries. Haynes, who had been laughing guardedly, walked on beside Stephen and said, "We oughtn't to laugh, I suppose. He's rather blasphemous. I'm not a believer myself, that is to say. Still, his gaiety takes the harm out of it somehow, doesn't it? What did he call it? Joseph the Joiner." "The Ballad of Joking Jesus," Stephen said. "Oh," Haynes said, "you heard it before." "3 times a day after meals," Stephen said dryly. "You're not a believer, are you?" Haynes asked. "I mean a believer in the narrow sense of the word, creation from nothing, and miracles and a personal God." "There's only one sense of the word, it seems to me," Stephen said. Haynes stopped to take out a smooth silver case in which twinkled a green stone. He sprang it open with his thumb and offered it. "Thank you," Stephen says, taking a cigarette. Haynes helped himself and snapped the case to. He put it back in a side pocket and took from his waistcoat pocket a nickel tinderbox, sprang it open too, and having lit a cigarette, held the flaming spunk towards Stephen in the shell of his hands. "Yes, of course," he said as they went on again. "Either you believe or you don't, isn't it? Personally, I couldn't stomach that idea of a personal God. You don't stand for that, I suppose." "You behold in me," Stephen said with grim displeasure, "a horrible example of free thought." He walked on, waiting to be spoken to, trailing his ash plant by his side. Its ferule followed lightly on the path, squealing at his heels. My familiar after me, calling, "Stephen!" A wavering line along the path. "They will walk on it tonight, coming here in the dark. He wants that key. It is mine. I paid the rent. Now I eat his salt bread. Give him the key too, all. He will ask for it." That was in his eyes. "After all," Haynes began. Stephen turned and saw that the cold gaze which had measured him was not all unkind. "After all, I should think, you are able to free yourself. You are your own master, it seems to me." "I am the master, the servant of 2 masters," said Stephen, "an English and an Italian." "Italian," Haynes said. "A crazy queen, old and jealous, kneel down before me. And a third," Stephen said. "There is who wants me for odd jobs." "Italian," Haynes said again. "What do you mean?" "The Imperial British State," Stephen answered, his colour rising, "and the Holy Roman Catholic and Apostolic Church." Haynes detached from his underlip some fibres of tobacco before he spoke. "I can quite understand that," he said calmly. "An Irishman must think like that, I dare say. We feel in England that we have treated you rather unfairly. It seems history is to blame." The proud, potent titles clanged over Stephen's memory, the triumph of their brazen bells. "Et unum sanctum catholicam et apostolicam ecclesiastiam." The slow growth and change of rite and dogma, like his own rare thoughts, a chemistry of stars. Symbol of the apostles in the Mass for Pope Marcellus, the voice blends, singing alone, loud in affirmation. And behind their chant, the vigilant angels of the church, militant, disarmed and menacing her hierarchies. A horde of heresies, fleeting with mitres awry. Potius and the brood of mockers, of whom Mulligan was one, and Arius, warring his life long upon the substantiality of the Son and the Father and Valentine, spurning Christ's terrene body and the subtle African hierox Sibelius, who held the Father was himself his own Son. Words Mulligan had spoken a moment since in mockery to the stranger, idle mockery. The void awaits surely all of them that weave the wind, a menace, a disarming and a worsening from those embattled angels of the church, Michael's hosts, who defends her ever in the hour of conflict with their lances and their shields. Hear, hear, prolonged applause, zoot, nom de Deus. Of course I'm a Britisher, Haynes' voice said, and I feel as one. I don't want to see my country fall into the hands of German Jews either. That's our national problem, I'm afraid, just now. Two men stood at the verge of the cliff, watching, businessman and boatman. She's making for Bullock Harbour. The boatman nodded towards the north of the bay with some disdain. There's 5 fathoms out there, he said. It'll be swept up that way when the tide comes in about 1. It's 9 days tomorrow. The man that was drowned, a sail veering about the blank bay, waiting for a swollen bundle to bob up, roll over to the sun, a puffy face, salt white. Here I am.